Since the 2000s, Australia has undergone a transformation, not by accident, not by natural growth, but by policy. For 60 years after World War II, Australia welcomed around 90,000 immigrants per year. And by most metrics, that model worked. It gave us time to build housing, hospitals, roads, schools, and preserve what made Australia beautiful and livable. But then cut to the mid-2000s and everything changed. Successive governments ramped up net migration to around over 230,000 people per year. Over just 20 years, our population has surged by over 8.7 million people. This is the fastest growth rate in the developed world. We now have the 9th most large migrant population in the world. Today, 1 in 3 Australians were born overseas. And it's not stopping there. According to the government's own projections, Australia is set to grow by another 13.5 million people in the next 40 years. That's the equivalent of adding another Sydney, another Melbourne, another Brisbane, all within one generation. And remember, this isn't about the numbers, it's about the consequences of these numbers. Permanent housing shortages, strained infrastructure, environmental degradation, overloaded services, all driven by bad policies of endless expansion, not by the Australian people's consent and not by our necessity. And why is this still happening? Because it's politically convenient. Migrants overwhelmingly vote Labor. And Labor knows this. The Albanese government has locked in permanent high migration, not for the benefit of our country, but for votes. No one voted to turn Australia into a congested mega city. No one voted for shoebox apartments, sky-high rents, and disappearing green spaces. This is not growth for the sake of the betterment of Australia. This is a planned erosion of the Australian quality of life. And it must be asked, is this really the future we want for ourselves and our country?
Come closer. I got something to tell you. Something is happening across the Western world. You can feel it on the streets, in the courts, at work, and online. It's not just political. It's not just cultural. It's psychological. A silent shift is underway, and it has a name. The inversion matrix. 5 sections. Section 1. The reversal begins. In this new system, the native becomes the intruder, the majority becomes the villain, and the truth becomes hate speech. The very people whose ancestors built these nations, who raised the families, tilled the land, and paid taxes, now find themselves apologizing for simply existing. How did this happen? Section 2. Psychological engineering and guilt programming. It began with psychological engineering. First, inject guilt programming, a constant stream of reminders about colonialism, slavery, privilege, and oppression. Then, flood the language with weaponized labels. Racist, transphobe, Islamophobe, far-right, each designed to shut down conversation, to train you, to self-censor, and to submit. This isn't about justice, it's about control through confusion. Section 3. The 2-tier system of compassion. Look around and you'll see it. As a matter of fact, I think that you know it already. Certain groups can gather publicly in the name of religion or pride. Others are fined, silenced, or arrested for praying silently. Crimes by one group are explained away as trauma, misunderstanding, or cultural norms. Same crime committed by someone else, instant outrage, national headlines, and cancellation. We moved from equal rights to engineered imbalance, from justice for all to justice selectively applied. Section 4. Institutional capture. Every major institution in the Western world has been taken over by the same ideological virus. Schools no longer teach pride in culture, but shame in history. Police now investigate felonies, feelings, not felonies. Media filters truth through an ideological lens, where facts are problematic and narratives are sacred. Even churches and temples now bow down to slogans instead of scripture. This is called institutional capture, and it's not accidental. Section 5 is the long game. Divide, demoralize, and replace. But why? Because a divided, guilt-ridden, and morally paralyzed society is easier to govern. Shatter its tradition, drown it in imported ideologies, redefine its language, and turn its people against themselves. This is what I'm keep trying to say. These are the true cracks to the matrix. The end goal? Not justice, not harmony, but a population too confused to resist and too fragmented to unite. But let's be clear. This isn't a war between races, or religions, or genders. It's a war between truth and programming. Between those who remember who they are and those who've been rethought to forget. You don't need to hate anyone, but you do need to see. Because the longer we stay silent, the more the inversion matrix tightens. Until what was once solid, identity, family, faith, law, becomes liquid, then meaningless, then gone. This isn't about hate, I repeat. It's about survival. And if you're still listening, it means the program didn't fully work on you. Not yet.
I mean, truly, what is wrong with you Australians? You have natural resources that are the envy of the rest of the world. You're the Saudi Arabia of the Southern Hemisphere. You export 7 times more coal than you consume, and yet you don't want to burn coal. You have nearly 30% of the world's uranium, and you won't build nuclear reactors. You export 3 times more natural gas in the form of LNG than you consume, and you won't drill for gas. I mean, I just don't get it. I love Australia. I think it's an amazing country, but your policy is just baffling.